6 a.m. and right now on Denver 7 News, new COVID restrictions in place across the metro. We're live with a rundown of the biggest impacts you'll see in just hours.
Governor Polis meets with President-elect Joe Biden to discuss the biggest needs for our state.
Like every state in the nation, we don't want to, cut back on testing, cut back on contact tracing.
Plus, the CDC is out with a stern message: don't fly for Thanksgiving.
I'm Denver 7's Micah Smith, and despite that warning, thousands of Coloradans still plan to fly. Coming up, we'll talk about how TSA and the airport plans to keep you safe.
For those of you staying at home, local restaurants are gearing up to help you perfect your holiday meal.
That's what we're in this business for, is right, hospitality.
Yeah, relieve some of your stress and support a local restaurant in the process this Thanksgiving. I'll share details on their prepared meals coming up. Good Friday morning to you. Thanks for ending your week with us. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Molly Hendrickson. This weekend would be a good one to get a head start on Thanksgiving meal preps. Meteorologist Lisa Hidalgo joins us from her home weather center. And Lisa, that's because changes move into the Front Range today.
Yeah, it's not going to be quite as warm. You won't be quite as tempted to be outside all afternoon. Cooler this morning, too. You're stepping out the door to temperatures right around freezing. And we're going to be in the low to mid 30s this morning. It's quite a bit cooler than the past few mornings. We've been in the 40s and 50s pretty much all week long. Right now, we're expecting highs right around 50 degrees. It'll be near 50, 52 between about 2 and 3 o'clock. So that's a good 25 degrees cooler than what we saw earlier this week with that record-tying high. Highs right around 50 in Denver. You'll find some 30s and 40s in the mountains. And at this point, things are pretty dry across the state. Later today and tonight, the mountains, mainly northern and central mountains, will start to see some light snow. We're not expecting much right now from this system. Earlier in the week, it looked like we were going to get a little rain and snow here in town, but there's just a slight chance tonight here across the metro area. We'll take a closer look at that and just how much cooler it is going to be this weekend coming up.
And right now, the drive looks pretty nice. Anywhere you want to go, whether it's out to the west side of town, the north side, up along Highway 36. From the camera there at the overlook, you can see it's a good-looking drive for us, east and westbound. That's going into Boulder. This is coming out of Boulder right now, and a lot of the highways look just like this. Let me take you out to DIA, where it is actually a little bit busy. I've seen quite a bit of traffic right now around the terminal, and I expect to see a fair amount of traffic there this weekend and obviously leading up to Thanksgiving, even though we'll talk more about that and some of the reductions in travel that is being recommended. There's still going to be a fair amount of people heading to and from the airport. Right now, a pretty decent ride for us anywhere you want to go, north side, south side, so nice and quiet if you want to head out and about.
Thanks, Jason. By 5 tonight, the entire metro will be under new COVID restrictions, with new cases not slowing down across the state. The 15 counties you see in red on this map will now be under those new level red restrictions. Denver 7's Eric Lufer is looking into the changes these restrictions will bring. And Eric, it is another hard hit for restaurants and small business workers already struggling to survive.
Yeah, nobody wants to see this. First off, it is important to remind everyone that red no longer means lockdown. The state decided to move the goalposts, if you will, earlier this week, updating that COVID-19 dial. So let's look at that right now. What this looks like after the update was made earlier this week, a few days ago. Purple is now the color we absolutely don't want to get to. Red is still obviously very restrictive, though, and absolutely makes life a lot harder for everyone. One of the biggies, indoor dining is temporarily closed. That's a major blow. Outdoor dining is still allowed, though, along with takeout and delivery. Bars must remain closed. Last call at restaurants, 8 p.m. Gyms are allowed to operate at only 10% capacity now. Personal gatherings of any size, not allowed. These are just a few of the restrictions, part of this bigger package here. The governor has a clear message why these moves are being made.
This is the riskiest time for the virus everywhere in Colorado that we have had from the very start. So no matter where you live, you should avoid interacting to the extent possible with people outside your household. You should wear a mask around others more than you ever have before. And you should have social distancing, wash your hands when you get back if you do have to go out. Now is that crunch time.
So if a county moves to purple, that would mean we're going into extreme risk areas at that point. That would indicate that hospitals were being overwhelmed. And then, of course, heavier restrictions would follow, pretty much as close to a lockdown as you can get. No county has gone purple just yet, Molly.
Let's hope it stays that way. All right, thank you, Eric. And by Sunday, 5 more counties will be in the red zone. Here's a look at them. They include Weld, Alamosa, Otero, Prowers, and Pueblo counties.
Governor Polis is working with President-elect Joe Biden to get the resources our state needs to get through the pandemic. Biden met with Polis and 7 other governors yesterday. There were 4 Democratic governors, 4 Republicans. Our Andrew Heo spoke with Governor Polis afterwards about our state's needs.
I'd say the biggest piece is the health response. The funding literally expires prior to the end of December. We, like every state in the nation, we don't want to, cut back on testing, cut back on contact tracing, not be able to fund the medical surge at the time of greatest need. So we need this Congress, this current president, to really step up, get at least part of that done.
Governor Polis says the federal money runs out on December 20th and no state can take on the financial burden on their own. He says President Trump needs to work with President-elect Biden to address Americans' needs. Meanwhile, Joe Biden says President Trump's team has been irresponsible in slowing down the transition of power process. He says his team can't get key information on plans for things like vaccine distribution. President Trump still has not conceded the race. It's been more than 2 weeks since Election Day. His legal team renewed claims that the election was stolen, though they did not provide concrete evidence. Georgia finished its recount yesterday, confirming Biden's victory there. It is the first Democratic presidential victory there since 1992.
This lack of cooperation is coming at the expense of the American public amid rising COVID cases. Our state recorded another 6,100 new cases of coronavirus yesterday. This is the truly concerning part. More than 1,600 hospital beds are in use because of the virus. That's the highest to date. 14% of our hospitals expect ICU bed shortages within a week. And hospitals across Colorado must submit plans to the state today to figure out how to boost their bed capacity by 50%. For some areas, the need is dire. ICU units in Grand Junction are at full capacity. Staffing is also an issue. More than 2,000 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in Mesa County in the last 2 weeks.
And new within the past hour, drug maker Pfizer will apply for emergency authorization from the FDA for its COVID-19 vaccine. Moderna is still waiting to finish its trials, and then they will do the same. Dr. Anthony Fauci says we need to trust the process that these vaccines will be effective.
We need to put to rest any concept that this was rushed in an inappropriate way. This is really solid.
It could still be a couple months before either vaccine is widely available. Dr. Fauci says that means we need to be extra vigilant in wearing masks and staying socially distant to hold things off until then.
A new warning this morning to avoid traveling for Thanksgiving if you can. We know it is such a hard decision to make, but the CDC's new urgent warning says it is not safe for you or the people around you. Denver7's Micah Smith joins us from Denver International Airport. And Micah, airlines are already seeing the impact of this.
They are. Molly, airlines say that ticket sales are slow and they're seeing quite a few cancellations due to the surge in COVID-19 cases in cities across the U.S. Now, even though Denver International Airport is seeing a significant decrease, that is, in travelers from last year, the Centers for Disease Control is recommending against any travel this Thanksgiving holiday. So 34,000 Coloradans planning to fly is still a pretty big number. The CDC says if you must travel, you should be extra vigilant when it comes to protecting yourself and others. Wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart from other people, wash your hands, and sanitize as much as possible. TSA says they plan to do their part as well to keep everyone safe. That includes wearing PPE and changing their protective gear often.
Gloves have always been required. They're going to be changing those more frequently. Also, anytime a passenger requests that a TSA officer change their gloves, the TSA officer is required to change their gloves.
TSA says they will be extremely vigilant during a time when several of their own agents have been impacted by COVID-19. On Monday, we learned that 49-year-old TSA agent Edward Faktorovich passed away from COVID-19. He worked here at Denver International Airport. So today, the airport will be holding a ceremony in his honor. That ceremony will begin at noon. Reporting live, Micah Smith, Denver7.